This training presentation was videotaped during an actual installation of Everlast Advanced Composite Siding at a private residence. Chelsea Building Products, manufacturer of Everlast Siding, does not advocate or endorse the use of any particular brand of house wrap, insulation sheathing, or tools that are either used or shown in this installation of Everlast Siding. This tutorial will teach you methods and best practices for a successful, fast, and efficient installation of Everlast Advanced Composite Siding. It's important that you watch the entire tutorial and follow the procedures demonstrated. Doing so will minimize the chance of callbacks and ensure that your work is in full compliance with Everlast's lifetime limited warranty. If the video does not answer all of your questions, please contact the experts at Everlast Advanced Composite Siding by calling 1-844-494-7920 or by inquiring online at everlastsiding.com. First, let's familiarize ourselves with the Everlast system. When installed, Everlast siding looks and feels just like real cedar siding. The siding is made from an advanced composite formula of polymer resins, inorganic minerals, and acrylic colorants. It's not painted, nor will it ever need to be painted. The finish is highly durable, but reasonable care should be taken to avoid scratching or damaging the finish during installation. Everlast planks come in two different widths, either 4.5 inches or 6 7/8 inches, depending upon the homeowner's preference. For this tutorial, we'll be installing the wider 6 7/8 planks, but the procedures are identical for both. The planks are designed with an interlock. This allows you to easily stack one plank on top of another. You quickly discover how this easy stack feature helps to ensure a perfectly level and speedy installation. Along the nailing hem of each plank, you'll find nailing slots. These slots are located every 8 inches on center along the entire length of the plank. This feature helps to locate framing members and ensures that you're able to fasten planks to walls with either 16-inch on-center or 24-inch on-center stud framing. Everlast siding should only be installed horizontally, never vertically or diagonally. As with the majority of exterior siding products, Everlast planks expand and contract horizontally. Everlast's unique composite formula greatly minimizes this movement. However, movement remains inevitable. Therefore, Everlast siding has been engineered to manage expansion and contraction during the installation process in 3 ways. First, planks must be fastened to studs in a loose or floating fashion. This allows the plank to move freely left and right. Second, planks are joined together at all butt joints along the nailing hem with an Everlast seam bracket. This makes the entire course of Everlast siding planks move as a single unit while ensuring tight butt joints along the entire course. And third, Everlast requires that you use pocketed trim. It's here within the trim pocket where any movement of Everlast siding can occur, but hidden from sight. Any pocketed trim package with these minimum dimensions can be used with Everlast. However, the Everlast system does offer a cellular PVC trim package in matte white, as well as a premium Everlast color-matched trim package. Before starting, check and adhere to all local building codes. Inspect your delivery of Everlast siding for any potential breakage, foreign objects, surface defects, or color inconsistencies. Do not install any siding that may appear questionable. Everlast should never be installed in temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Everlast siding should be stored on a flat, dry, and level surface to ensure the material stays free from foreign objects. On hot days, Everlast siding should be stored in the shade and away from any unnecessary heat sources. Keeping Everlast cool rather than hot during the installation process will help to eliminate any unusual lateral movement that would have been a result of excessive heat buildup. Never stack Everlast siding more than 3 skids high, and never store Everlast siding vertically. When stored outside, lay the bundles on supports to avoid direct contact with the ground. Prior to installing, allow time for the Everlast siding to acclimate to the ambient air temperature. To achieve this, use a utility knife to carefully cut open the end of each bundle, which will allow for airflow to get to the material. Also, it is recommended to never fully remove the shroud from the skid. The shroud will act as another layer of protection against the elements. Installers appreciate Everlast's light weight. Bundles of Everlast planks are easily transported across a job site by a single person. Proper surface preparation is a critical step to a successful Everlast siding installation. Everlast is a rain screen wall cladding. It's not a waterproof barrier. It must be installed over a quality, weather-resistant barrier. Be sure to properly flash around all windows, doors, rake boards, chimneys, and other areas of transition between dissimilar materials. If not properly addressed, Everlast, like most cladding products, will contour with any imperfection in the substrate. Everlast should only be installed over flat and level surfaces. Plumb, level, and square the walls using furring strips as needed. It is highly recommended to remove existing siding and start fresh. If removing the existing siding before Everlast is installed is not an option, then be sure to properly prepare the existing wall for new siding. This includes, but is not limited to, securing any loose siding, sealing holes and cracks with new caulking, and replacing any rotted material. If possible, locate and mark the position of each stud across the wall, as you'll need to fasten each Everlast plank to every stud. Everlast is unique in that the use of Everlast trim is not required. The only requirement is the use of a pocketed trim, which should be installed prior to the siding. If deciding not to use Everlast trim, be sure to choose a pocketed trim package that meets the following specifications: a minimum of 3/4 of an inch wide by a minimum of 5/8 of an inch deep. Everlast should not be butted to trim boards and caulked. If using routed trim boards, Everlast siding can be installed first. Be sure to read all instructions for your trim package before installing. You may also use other standard accessories such as vinyl gable vents, light blocks, and others. No specialty tools are required to install Everlast siding. For sawing Everlast planks, use only a fine-tooth vinyl or plywood blade. Only exterior-grade screws or nails should be used, such as aluminum, stainless steel, galvanized, or other corrosion-resistant fasteners. Number 10 siding screws or electro-galvanized roofing nails are most commonly used. The fastener head diameter should be 3/8 of an inch to 7/16 of an inch. The fastener shank should be a maximum diameter of 1/8 of an inch. The length of the fastener should depend on the thickness of the sheathing used. However, the fastener must be long enough to penetrate into the studs at least 3/4 of an inch. The Everlast seam bracket and screws are also required. Each seam bracket kit contains 25 brackets and 115 screws. Only use Everlast seam brackets and screws to join Everlast siding planks. If needed, comparable screws can be used. Number 8 by 3/8 of an inch stainless steel type A. Do not use screws that will penetrate into the substrate. The Everlast starter strip is designed to receive the first course of Everlast planks at the base of the wall. Due to Everlast's stack design, it's critical that you install the starter strip level. A level starting strip ensures that each subsequent course of siding will remain level. As with most siding products, find the lowest point of the structure and begin to install the starter strip. At the base of the wall, determine where you want the siding to terminate from grade. From this point, measure up 3.5 inches and mark this location. Chalk a level line. Everlast starter strip comes in 10-foot lengths. Leave approximately 4 inches from your trim to the starter strip. Position the top of the starter strip at your chalk line and fasten the strip tightly to each stud across the wall. Always leave a half-inch gap between adjacent starter strips. Continue until starter strip is installed across the entire base of the wall. For applications where the starter strip will be visible, conceal the strip by wrapping it in aluminum color-matched coil. Or you can paint the starter strip before it's installed with a color-matched paint. With your wall prepped and trim and starter strip installed, you're ready to install the first course of Everlast siding. Also, with the Everlast system, planks install both left to right or right to left. It makes no difference, so start at either side of the wall. To properly accommodate siding expansion and contraction, always leave a 1/4 inch gap between the end of the plank and the inside of the trim pocket. To do so, stack your first plank onto the starter strip and then slide the panel into the trim pocket at the inside or outside corner until it contacts the trim. Then, back the plank out the required 1/4 inch. Be certain that your plank is fully seated onto the starter strip. You're ready to fasten your first plank. Remember, Everlast is a floating siding system. The siding must be able to move in a lateral direction in order to properly accommodate for thermal expansion and contraction. Therefore, it's imperative that proper fastening techniques are followed. All fasteners should be positioned as close as possible to the center of a nail slot. Do not fasten through the siding panel. Drive your fastener into the stud straight and level. Leave a 1/32 of an inch gap between the nail head and the siding panel. This gap ensures that the plank is loose enough to move freely in a lateral direction. In other words, never fasten the siding tightly to the wall. Fasteners must be installed at every stud across the entire length of the plank. Don't skip studs. Remember, Everlast planks have nail slots every 8 inches on center. Stack the next plank onto the starter strip. Again, ensure that it's fully seated. Slide it into position, butting it tightly against your first plank. In all cases and temperatures, it is required to always butt the planks tightly. Never leave a gap at the seam. You're ready to install your first seam bracket. With planks tightly butted together, position your seam bracket centered across the nail hems of the adjoining planks and secure the bracket with the seam bracket screws. Each plank receives 2 screws. Only use the screws that come with the seam bracket kit. These screws will only penetrate into the siding. Do not use screws that will penetrate into the wall. The planks are now properly seamed. All subsequent butt joints must be secured together in this manner. Everlast siding seams do not require flashing, and caulking should never be used with the Everlast system. Some installers find it easier to pre-install one side of the seam bracket before sliding and butting the next plank into place. This method is acceptable. For the last plank in your first course, measure the length of plank required. Remember to leave 1/4 inch gap inside the pocket trim. Unlike other composite siding products, with Everlast siding, you're not required to use the factory end cuts at butt joints. This feature can dramatically reduce the amount of siding required for a job. Just be sure to make your cuts at a perfectly square 90-degree angle using a fine-tooth vinyl or plywood blade. This will ensure a clean and unified joint. Installers appreciate that Everlast siding saws cleanly, producing no harmful dust. Place your final plank onto the starter strip. Butt it tightly against the previous plank. Install your seam bracket. This completes the first course. All Everlast planks in this course are tied together with seam brackets, and the entire course can move as one unit, laterally, left or right, to accommodate thermal expansion and contraction. You're now ready to move on to the next course, working your way up the wall. Everlast's light weight makes it possible for just a single person to install, and Everlast's Easy Stack design allows a single person to stack courses easily and quickly. No special tool is required to level a plank or to hold it in place while it's being fastened. Just be sure the plank is fully seated onto the lower plank across its entire length before you fasten. Proceed upward in this same fashion. Stack, slide, butt, bracket. As with any siding, you should stagger seams to prevent seams from occurring on top of each other. Most installers leave a 2-stud, 32-inch offset. If your Everlast project has a continuous course of siding that spans 60 feet or longer, the center of this course should be pinned by placing a fastener in each side of a single nail slot. Pinning longer courses of siding ensures that the course will expand and contract equally in both directions. Keep in mind, the center of each course could change as siding is installed around windows and doors. When pinning a course on center, do not hard nail. The same standard fastening method applies. Try to avoid seams under and over windows and over doors. Measure the width and depth of your required cut to fit under or over the opening. Keep in mind, planks must be able to move laterally 1/4 of an inch. Ensure that this space will also be provided for planks installed under windows and above doors. First, make vertical cuts with your saw. Then, for horizontal cuts, use your utility knife. Using a straight edge, score along the face of the plank. Then cleanly snap on the score line. This technique should only be used for horizontal cuts. Always use your saw for vertical and diagonal cuts. When installing a plank under a window, so the plank will have enough clearance to maneuver upward into the bottom window trim and over the top of the nail hem of the plank directly beneath it, trim approximately 1/8 of an inch off of the section of interlock on the back of the panel that will be located directly under the window. With the interlock shortened, this plank will have enough clearance to properly seat into position. Everlast planks are designed to flex. However, there may be instances where the distance between trim is too narrow to effectively flex a plank into position. In these situations, you'll want to preload planks. This can be done from the bottom or from the top. If it's impossible to preload planks from the top or the bottom, trim the plank just enough for it to fit past the trim. At the top of the wall, at either an eave or gable condition, first measure and cut your plank to the appropriate size, so that the final top plank will have enough clearance to maneuver upward into your top trim and over the top of the nail hem of the plank directly beneath it. Trim approximately 1/8 of an inch off of the interlock on the back of the panel. For gables, where it can be especially tight, cut the ends of the interlock off diagonally, in this manner. With the interlock trimmed, the final plank now has enough clearance to maneuver into place and seat properly. To maintain proper pitch at the last course, use a furring strip behind the cut edge and at all seams. This furring strip also functions as a compression strip, holding the planks tightly against the front of the top trim. Face fasten the last piece of siding with a color-matched fastener or trim nail. This is the only instance when you should fasten directly through an Everlast plank. Flashing panel seams is not required with Everlast. However, if you choose to do so, cut back the interlock approximately 1.5 inches on each of the butted panels. Then, slip flashing down the back side of the panels, ensuring it goes over top of the nail hem of the course below. Should an Everlast siding plank become damaged after installation, it can be removed and replaced following these procedures. Be very careful not to damage any surrounding siding planks while you pry out the damaged piece. Carefully follow the next steps. Using a utility knife, cut the damaged plank horizontally 1 inch from the top of the plank. Remove the lower section of the damaged plank. With a flathead screwdriver, pry loose the seam brackets connecting the plank to the adjacent panels. Also, using a sawzall or other means necessary, remove each fastener holding the top portion of the damaged board to the wall. Remove the upper section of the damaged panel. Trim 1/8 of an inch from the interlock located on the back of the replacement plank. Insert the replacement plank. Face nail the plank as close to the top stack as possible by using color-matched fasteners or trim nails. Let's review the most critical points for ensuring a quality Everlast installation. Always use an exterior grade fastener that is long enough to penetrate the stud a minimum of 3/4 of an inch. Everlast siding must be installed using a pocketed trim package. Always install Everlast siding over a quality, weather-resistant barrier system, and properly flash all openings. Never hard nail Everlast panels. Instead, siding panels must be floated. Always place fasteners in the center of nail slots, leaving 1/32 of an inch gap between the nail head and the siding panel. Always leave 1/4 of an inch gap from the end of the panel to the end of the trim pocket. Always butt seams together tightly and secure each butt joint with a seam bracket. Pin the center of courses that span 60 feet or more. Follow the procedures we've shown you here and your Everlast installation is sure to be a success. Thank you for choosing Everlast Advanced Composite Siding.